In a small coastal town in Maine, where the ocean whispered secrets to the cliffs, lived an old man named Elias. His weathered face, etched with lines like a map of forgotten roads, was a familiar sight to no one. Elias was a recluse, living in a lighthouse that hadn't guided ships in decades. Every evening, he lit a single lantern and hung it on the cliff's edge, its faint glow swallowed by the vast darkness. Townsfolk called him the Lantern Keeper, whispering that he was mad, clinging to a ritual no one understood. But Elias didn't care for their stories. He had his own. Years ago, Elias had been a fisherman, his life tethered to the sea. He was brash then, with a laugh that could rival the gulls. One stormy night, a boat carrying a family, a mother, father, and their young daughter, capsized off the coast. Elias was the only one nearby, his boat battling waves that seemed to roar with malice. He fought to reach them, but the sea was merciless. He pulled the mother aboard, her sobs cutting through the wind, but the father and daughter were gone, claimed by the depths. The lighthouse, unmanned that night, had offered no warning, no hope. Elias never forgave himself. That failure broke him. He abandoned fishing, retreated to the lighthouse, and began his nightly ritual of lighting the lantern. It wasn't for ships, he told himself, but for the souls he couldn't save, a flicker of remorse in an endless night. The townsfolk didn't know this. They saw only a man lost to time, his lantern a pointless defiance of the dark point. One autumn evening, a girl named Maya arrived in town. She was 16, a foster kid who'd bounced between homes across New England, her heart a patchwork of scars. Maya had learned to keep her distance, trusting no one. But she was curious, and the stories of the Lantern Keeper drew her like a moth to flame. She'd watch from the cliffs, hidden behind rocks, as Elias hung his lantern, his hands trembling but deliberate. Why does he do it? She wondered. What's he waiting for? One night, a storm rolled in, the kind that made the earth feel like it was unraveling. Maya, restless, slipped out of her foster home and headed to the cliffs. She expected to find Elias there, but the lantern was unlit, swaying wildly in the wind. Panic gripped her. She ran to the lighthouse, pounding on the door. "Elias, are you there?" No answer. The door was unlocked, and inside, she found him collapsed on the floor, his face pale, a spilled bottle of pills beside him. Maya's instincts kicked in. She called 911, her voice steady despite her racing heart, and stayed with Elias, holding his hand as rain battered the windows. "Stay with me," she whispered, though she wasn't sure he could hear. When the paramedics arrived, they said she'd saved his life. Elias was rushed to the hospital, and Maya, shaken, returned to the cliffs. The lantern still swung in the storm, unlit. Without thinking, she grabbed it, lit the wick with trembling hands, and hung it on the cliff's edge. The glow was small, but it held against the darkness. Elias recovered slowly, and when he returned to the lighthouse, Maya was waiting. She'd kept the lantern lit every night, a silent promise to a man she barely knew. "Why?" Elias asked, his voice rough with emotion. Maya hesitated, then said, "I've been lost too. I know what it's like to need a light even if no one else sees it." That was the moment Elias understood. His lantern had never been just for the past. It was for the living, for those like Maya, who needed a reason to keep going. He told her his story, the weight of that stormy night spilling out after years of silence. Maya listened, her eyes glistening. "You didn't fail them," she said. "You're still here, lighting the way." Together, they made a new ritual. Each evening, they hung the lantern, but now it wasn't just Elias's burden. Maya invited others, kids from school, lonely neighbors, even skeptical townsfolk. They came, at first out of curiosity, then out of something deeper. The cliff became a place of stories where people shared their fears, their losses, their hopes. The lantern's glow grew, not in brightness, but in meaning. It was a beacon for anyone who felt adrift, a reminder that even the smallest light could pierce the dark point. One night, as snow dusted the cliffs, Maya stood beside Elias, the lantern casting shadows on their faces. A crowd had gathered, larger than ever, their voices mingling with the sea's song. An old woman, who'd lost her son years ago, stepped forward and hung a small lantern beside Elias's, her hands steady. A boy, shy and stuttering, did the same. One by one, others followed, until the cliff blazed with light. Elias, tears streaming down his face, turned to Maya. "This is what it was always for," he said. The town never forgot that night. The lantern keeper was no longer a solitary figure, but a symbol of what humanity could be: kind, selfless, unbroken by loss. Elias and Maya, two souls who'd once felt invisible, had shown them that a single act of care could spark a fire that warmed the world, and so the lanterns burned on, night after night, a testament to the power of one light to guide another home.